How's everyone doing? Hope you're alright. Code there, back again. Just want to do a video on the death in custody of a prisoner that died like a week and a half ago when I was in there. A guy called Darren Rawlinson. God bless him, may he rest in peace. I was on H1. I was a cleaner on H1 at Forest Bank in Salford. Near Manchester, and yeah, he was on G1. He was 37-year-old. He would have been released in and around the time that I got released. So, like I said, this is about a week and a half ago. I got out on Friday, but the kid died a week and a half ago. He was on G1. G1 was a drug-free wing, and surprise, surprise, sad to say, he died of a drug overdose. That shows you what's happening within prisons with drugs, legal highs. They're not known as legal highs no more in prison. They're called NPS, new psychoactive substances. And yeah, like I say, this guy was found unresponsive in his cell. He wasn't dead. When he was found, he was unconscious with a very, very weak pulse. The screws worked on him. They phoned an ambulance, but while the ambulance was getting there, they carried out CPR on him and stuff, tried to resuscitate him, but it was to no avail. Speaking to people, speaking to the screws, and speaking to the lads that knew him on the wing, apparently he was a great lad. He worked in the kitchen, so he obviously was a chef of some kind, working with the food in the kitchens, making food for the lads and stuff. But yeah, the sad state of affairs where he died in prison, and dying of an overdose on a drug-free wing. That just tells you everything you need to know about the state of the drug problems within prisons throughout the country. Like I say, my thoughts and my feelings go out to his friends and family. This is the notice that was put up within the prison. Don't know if you can read that. It's all probably back to front for you guys. So that's the sad and tragic letter that was posted on the wall. But the thing is, from what I was hearing from lads that know him, was that he was on drugs leading up to Bang Up that night, and he was on a methadone program, I believe. Now, when the nurse went to give him his methadone, by all accounts, he was already out of it. Now, the methadone may or may not have pushed his body into that state where he actually overdosed. Obviously, there's probably going to be, there will be an inquest, I suppose. The prison ombudsman is looking into it as well. Apparently, he had up his arse, or the prison pocket as it's known, apparently he had drugs plugged in there. He was on a variety of illegal drugs, which obviously are all illegal in prison anyway. But the fact that he was able to overdose on a drug-free wing, that shocked me. That I'm not wet behind the ears. I know what goes on in prison. Been in a couple of times, but yeah, it's just a shocking state of affairs. I mean, the screws, to the credit, yeah, they give him CPR, they worked on him and stuff like that. But the simple fact of the matter is, how's he dying in the prison on a drug-free wing, right? Of a drug overdose. The mind boggles. It really does. Now, like, if you're on a wing and you know that there's a problem with drugs on there, right? The screws on that particular wing should be proactive and carrying out pad searches and everything else. Like I say, I'm not a screw boy. I'm sticking up for prisoners, but like, if you know there's a problem with drugs on a set wing, it's a drug-free wing. It just makes a mockery of the idea of a drug-free wing. I was told by one of the cleaners that came onto H1 from G1 that there's more drugs on G1 than there is on any other wing in a jail. And again, I reiterate, it's a drug-free wing. To die in prison though as well, because his body, I think he was pronounced dead. I'm just looking down the letter. It was about 10 to 9. He was pronounced dead because of the circumstances in which he sadly tragically passed away. They couldn't remove his body. The police had to come. The lads on G1 were actually behind their doors all day, because this body had to lie in situ in the cell, and the police had to come, scenes of crime, forensics, all that sort of stuff, because it was, for all intents and purposes, it was a crime scene. They don't know if there's foul play involved and everything else. So yeah, his body was there for several hours. I mean, I think it went after 5 o'clock. So you're talking a good 8-9 hours before his body was actually removed from the prison. And yeah, like to die behind bars, it must be like horrific. You know what I mean? It's not good. It actually brought the mood down for me personally, right? Like, when you're on these wings and stuff, yeah, you got hardened criminals on these wings, but every single one of them was speaking God bless him, may rest in peace, all that sort of stuff. Now, there's a lot of respect there from the prisoners and stuff, and like I say, his friends and stuff like that within the wing. Apparently, he was a cracking lad, he was a very popular lad, but to die in such tragic circumstances in prison, the mind boggles. And like I say, it's just indicative of what's happening in prisons throughout the UK, with heroin, crack, gabbies, which is a powerful painkiller that people crush up and snort, Subutex, which people take, they crush up the tablet and they snort it to get into the bloodstream faster. Subutex actually to reverse the effects of heroin. It's like a heroin substitute. Same with methadone. Methadone's obviously given at the medical hatch. They have to take 40 ml thing in a green little bottle cap. They neck it. They have to then show the screw that they've swallowed it. But some lads get around it and they'll spit it back, and then they'll sell it to one of the other lads for a premium. Because obviously, with the state of prisons the way they are and stuff like that. I mean, like I say, the actual prison itself, Forest Bank, is a Cat B prison. It's in Salford. It's my second time there. It's run by Sodexo Justice Services. The screws are cracking, to be honest. Good set of screws. The screws know what goes on with the drugs and the mobile phones and the alcohol and the illegal alcohol hooch, as it's known in prison. They know all about it. You'd be walking down a landing and a screw will say, "Fucking hell, that weed's strong," or whatever, and then they just carry on walking. They've got a very lackadaisical attitude towards drugs, because it's not that worth their. They don't get paid enough in their eyes to actively chase up these drugs and stuff like that. There are certain people, I won't mention no names, screws wise, that are proactive in the drugs and stuff and everything else. I mean, this time, because I was a cleaner, it's classed as a trusted position, and I was piss tested, or as it's known in prison, the mandatory drug test. I was mandatory drug tested. The drug test for everything. All it was I came back from somewhere, and then he said, right, I think it was exercise. I've come off exercise, and then one of the screws said, right, you're going in mandatory drug tested, or piss test as we call it. So we go over to this little room off the wing. It's called the hub. We sat in there, and then one at a time the lads went in. You have to piss up to a certain height in this bottle. Then it's split between 2 separate containers. It's sealed in front of you. It's got a serial number and everything. It goes to an external company. The test is very stringent and like everything. It tests for every drug, including spice, and yeah, it's just the only drug it doesn't test for are steroids. And the reason they don't test for steroids is because it costs £1,700, I believe, roughly, to test for steroids, because you got to do blood tests and stuff and send them away and analyse them and stuff. It's obviously cheaper to do urine tests and stuff for drugs. And out of the cleaners that were tested, I think there was 3 or 4 that wasn't tested because they was on a course, street soccer. But the ones that were tested, I think there were about 7 or 8 of us. There was only 2 fails. One was the wing painter. He tested positive for cannabinoids, which comes back to synthetic cannabis, so spice, or spiz, or fish as it's known in prison. And another lad that was on the cleaners, who I really liked in the start, but he became addicted to spice and started to steal from lads, from cleaners on the wing, to feed his spice habit, which I think is disgusting. You don't steal from your own. But yeah, like I say, drugs were rife in there and stuff, and there's not been much in the media. All the letter reads here that I've got in my possession from the prison. Just says, "I'm sorry to inform you that there have been a death in custody. Mr. Darren Rawlinson passed away today at approximately 0850 on G1. If you would like to speak to a chaplain or a listener, please contact a member of staff in the residential area." Signed by Sonia Ebbs, who's the head of security and safer custody. And that was dated the 29th of January. So like I say, just over 2 weeks. Again, like, my thoughts and prayers with Darren Rawlinson, his friends and his family. I hope that the nurse that administered the methadone to the lad in question didn't push him over the edge in his body over the edge into, so that he actually overdose, as it's known. But yeah, like I say, with the amount of illegal, illicit drugs in prison, it's a very, very major problem. The thing is as well with Forest Bank, I don't know, not a lot of people know this. It's a new thing that they're starting doing. What they're actually doing now, from speaking to the screws, I found out the airport style body scanners that scan and like x-ray your insides are actually being built at the moment. When I got released on Friday just gone, so like 48 hours ago, I got out on the 10th of February 2017. I actually saw this airport style scanner being made. It's still in the very early stages. But what it's going to mean is, if people coming in on short sentences and they've got parcels up their arse, or the prison pocket as it's known, if they've got parcels in the prison pocket and it's inside the body, when they get scanned and x-rayed and stuff, obviously, like 7 years, you can get 7 years just on its own for trying to import new psychoactive substances, so your spice, your legalised as they're formerly known, things like that. I think it's 2 years for supplying HMP. That's, you're talking mobile phones, SIM cards, that sort of malarkey. So if you're on a short sentence, yeah, you can find yourself doing years and years. I think they're going to try and make a mockery of lads and scapegoat them. But again, the screws, right, I've got very like, they're not interested in drugs and mobile phones and legalise and prison alcohol. They're not bothered. Like, it's more than the job's worth. You know what I mean? They go to work, they do what they need to do, don't do any more than that, and then they go home. And like I say, it's like buttons with bars. I let the screws know that I do interviews with the media and stuff on prison issues, prison reforms, crime, gun crime, knife crime, policing issues, policing levels, gun crime, gangs, all that sort of stuff. And like I say, having worked on the cleaners, you work parallel with the screws, yeah? I've seen a hell of a lot. Violent incidents, kick-offs, people shitting up. The amount of people with mental health issues is through the roof. People shitting up, slashing up, cries for help, trying to get a TV. Just, the thing is, the staff are not mentally health trained, and it's just, it kills me to like sit here and listen to the lads behind the doors, like screaming and losing their head and talking to themselves and smashing up and slashing up, and you see all sorts, man. It's a bad state of affairs. Prison system's fucked, yeah, man. Like I said, it's no deterrent. 3 meals a day, roof over your head, TV in your cell, free use of the gym, legalised drugs, mobile phones, prison alcohol, anything you can get on the outside, you can get on the inside. But again, this video is in relation to the death in custody of Darren Rawlinson, God bless him, may rest in peace, who sadly died at the age of 37. He died of a drug overdose on a drug-free wing. I'll leave it at that. My thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family, and thanks for listening, guys. If you've got an idea of anything you want me to speak about on these videos, please drop me a message, an inbox, or a comment below, and I'll jump on it. Alright guys, thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.